past is history, the future mystery. This moment is the gift.
Welcome, Miracle Makers. It's Dr. Sarah Larson in the house. I can't wait for today's show. I'm so excited. Today, we are going to touch on overcoming obstacles. And my in-studio special guest host
co-host,
woohoo, is Matt Kelly.
Hello, Dr. Sarah.
Woo, hello, Miracle Makers.
Excited to be here tonight.
Oh, Matt Kelly, we love your voice. And we're going to miss you so much as you're headed back to Vermont.
Headed back east.
And
where actually it's having California weather, I should say.
What an extraordinary journey it's been.
Oh, it's been wonderful.
Thank you for sharing your story.
Oh, thank you. It was actually really freeing, and I've gotten a lot of response from it. So my best friend didn't even know this story. So you heard my deepest, darkest secrets out there, people.
Miracle Makers. And we share our deepest, darkest secrets so that you know you're not going through this alone.
And that's why I'm really excited as well for tonight's guest. So.
Yes. Oh, we've got one of my favorite artists. She has been out in the world doing art since she was 12 years old. She was forced into it sort of because she had a disorder, dystonia, much like Parkinsonism, and she found healing, art, wellness through this side of the lens, through art, through Western medicine. She went on to create amazing art. She has traveled the world. She's actually in some of the places that she's been in prison. She's been in royal castles. She's been an activist at the White House. And throughout the world, we've got with us by Skype, Layla Love. Layla, woo! Layla, my darling, I'm so glad that you're here. We want to make sure that your camera is on, and so it's so beautiful. You are stunning.
Here you are.
There you are.
And you have one of the most beautiful names. Of course, I suffer from chronic lyricosis and think the Derek and the Domino song, Layla. So.
Yeah, no, it's exciting to live up to the name and really feel into what it means to embrace those principles of love. Oh. It seems cliche, but it can be a lifelong pursuit for all of us, you know?
Your pursuits have been so extraordinary and have gotten so much attention, and there's so much that I could say about you. One of my favorite things is that you're working on a project called Rise of the Butterflies, and your art incorporates so much about human consciousness and transformation. Before you were out there, you were on the inside, 12 years old. Can you share with us, Layla, just some of the journey that you've been on from your perspective?
Well, when I wake up every morning, my first thought is it's a miracle I'm still alive. So that's the first miracle that I embrace, you know. Being in physical captivity in one's own body allows for the inner worlds to really develop. And so I was super lucky to have the miracle of imagination really as a deep well of my childhood. And the dark room was an incredible cocoon. It allowed me to metamorphosize and really envision a life of action and service. And it's been an incredible adventure. You know, I didn't intend to be a photographer professionally. However, at 21, I went to West Africa with an anthropologist, and that's when the miracle of perseverance took over and what it really meant. You know, there was a moment And I was photographing women who had self-mutilated as a form of protection against being trafficked. And so now I'm, fully immersed in that work. And it's incredible because the miracle is we can create these connections between ourselves that are beautiful and are celebratory and are still facilitating changing lives and awakening consciousness. So the miracle is really learning how to weave gratitude and excitement and adventure into the whole process, whether it's for a gallery show or whether it means being in the field doing the frontline work. We're all here with the ability to create the most exciting adventure in this life, and I'm not afraid of death or dying. I've really, I was in prison that first trip at 21 for quite a while and really went through a lot of, being bashed and beaten with machine guns and going inside myself and deciding that the purpose of life was so much deeper and really surviving that moment, and not only surviving it but transcending it, is what has allowed me to continue evermore, and so I think diamonds are made under pressure, so all of the listeners are in resonance. We're all here to magnetize the miracle of existence, and purpose to me is that deepest treasure.
Your website has so many beautiful words that share all of the different purposes a lot of your work has shown up with. To say that another way is you will go out those first 5 years. You went to the war-torn regions. You went to places other photojournalists were not able to go or brave enough to go. And at 21, what was it within yourself that having freedom to move through the camera and through the lens, what was it for you?
I think I've had the great fortune of realizing that we have an opportunity with our lives to really plug in and dive in and co-create our existence. I'm not under the belief that we're living solely alone in these little holographic realities. I think that there's a co-creative aspect, and I want to participate. And the more I give, whether it be in those really intense situations or right now in building the current situation and platform and nonprofit, it's like I decided I want full participation in life. And it's been such an exciting adventure, because art loses its ego when it's paired with purpose. And there's something so beautiful about making art. But in the world that we live in now, it's important to have your head in the sky, and get that bird's eye artistic view, but to have your feet on the ground. And so this gives me a mission. It allows me to be, a soldier of truth, and that is that humans should not own other humans. I felt very strongly compelled we need to respect Earth, and we respect the lives, the precious life.
The precious life, Layla. I love that even after being imprisoned, even after being beaten, you still go out and are so active in the political scene, and you see the plight of all of these extraordinary heroes around the world. And you've got your own physical battles and challenges, but you go out and you find strength. And so this is something that I want to share with you guys, Miracle Makers. Whatever challenge you're going through, Layla, diagnosed at age 5, wheelchair bound at age 12, looked around for what she could do. And what she could do was use a camera, take pictures, and her expression began taking a form that allowed her to amplify what she could do. Like there was this fire inside her that got built so beautifully from producing something that contributed her voice. And Matt, as you're watching this and hearing this, I want your input.
Oh, it's another hero story, and I'm just immediately drawn to it. And the juxtaposition of what people may say is disability.
Yes.
And it's turned completely on its head with Layla here as an absolute unique ability. And it really is just powerful. And I've got goosebumps. I really do. Just see them. See the goose flesh?
I see the goosebumps.
Really. It's just a wonderful story, and I want to hear more.
What we'd love to hear is to take the art, and then on your journey, you met heroes. You're on this hero's journey, and you met all of these heroes along the way. And if you will share with us how that happened for you, what was the insides? What were your thoughts as you were moving through day by day, making art and coming across the different heroes that see you and amplify the Shiro within you?
Shiro, love it.
For sure, it's an incredible journey when you decide that you're alive to evolve, and you start walking on this path that is uncertain, and you're looking for those who have pioneered the path before you. And I really think it's so important that we give reverence and respect to our ancestors first and foremost, always with grounded in that process. And then I look to my elders, so that's how meeting the curator that I'm working with, Anthony Hayden Guest, came about. He's 80, and he just did a boxing match for his birthday. It was pretty incredible. And Gloria Steinem, she's also in her 80s, and she is pioneering without relenting, without stopping. Like, there's this deep passion of fire and purpose that can come alive in any and all of us, and it should. This is, for me, it's just an invitation to invite more butterfly ambassadors. We started this nonprofit so that everybody could get involved, and a hero's journey is in all of us. And I hope that we live the most epic lives and do participate and do plug in. I was in her living room, and she challenged me to plug in this particular area of using art activism to free those in human trafficking and work with eroticizing equality and bringing about healthier relationships to the ways we love each other, And so that's a pretty serious lifelong mission, and I've chosen to engage in it. And I just photographed Pussy Riot on Friday. They're superheroes, or, meeting with Shepard Fairey or Alex and Allison Gray. There's all these superheroes. I just connected with Bruce Lipton and The Rise of the Butterflies, about really being these imaginal selves. If you look at the website, there's a little video from him on the Rise of the Butterfly website that explains the whole time that we're in right now, and how it's really our choice whether we choose to surrender and essentially remain numb or in this mediocre state. And life to me was always super hard as a child, and so I had to decide to be super joyous to counteract that.
And Layla, that's one of the questions that I wanted to kind of present. How have you met people's preconception of you, and in essence surpassed it or moved through it, if you will, to basically turn their perception on its head?
Well, I'm still definitely getting there. And right now I'm like in training, physical and emotional and spiritual training to take myself to the next level for these next series of shows. So I feel like I'm going to fully transform into the physical reflection of what I've always felt inside, which is a very able-bodied person. But there's like layers of pain that you have to address, and humility, and a willingness
That's courage.
to realize that we all have intense strengths and intense flaws, and that we're all in glass houses, and that nobody should be throwing stones. And so instead of looking at how people were perceiving me, I just worried about how I was perceiving myself. And I still, to this day, you know, I'm always comparing myself to myself. You know, Sarah, Dr. Sarah, you mentioned all of these heroes, but those heroes have all taught me to reflect inward. You know, what am I doing? Where am I standing? What is my role in this? You know, and yeah, people have for sure preconceived notions when you're in braces in a wheelchair, when you're like, you know, I was like gone through different body metamorphosis because of all the trials and tribulations, and, you know, so what?
That is brilliant. That
you know, so what? Like, we're all hurting. We need to just, it was also for me about being a little tough with myself, like tough love, like strength, like, you know, you have to be, there's people hurting way worse than me. That's why the nonprofit, that's why the human trafficking, because nothing I've gone through is as painful as that. And now I can create beautiful art that has tenderness and love and devotion in it, and share that. And hopefully it brings warmth into people's homes, and it gives another person freedom to create a home and a life for themselves. So I feel lucky. I feel like I found a win-win situation here.
The Rise of the Butterfly was founded by Gloria Steinem and Layla Love. And these are the beautiful words of Gloria Steinem about you, Layla. I love this statement. Layla Love is an artist in the best senses of the word, in love with and filled with the energy of life, from suffering through miracles. Her work is universal and unique. At the same time, you will always know it's hers and your own. And you have the most glorious pictures of Gloria Steinem at your website, laylalove.com, this extraordinary website with all the gallery, the pieces, the collection. They're so moving. They're so inspiring. We've got the butterfly one. One of my dearest friends has this beautiful one. Every time we think about the suffering that's happening in the world, with every area of the continent being in this need of connection from the heart, we look at that and we know transformation is happening. You, this beautiful daughter of an activist and a gypsy, found her way into places no one else gets to travel to, and experienced horrific things. From that, transformed with greater purpose and greater purpose. And the Rise of the Butterflies with Gloria Steinem, this nonprofit helping women create, those that are owned, create new lives, is so extraordinary. Matt, as you're listening to this, what other questions come up?
Well, one thing that really just struck me was Gloria Steinem's quote here, suffering through miracles. And I'm wondering if Layla might be able to expound on that a little bit. She's certainly has shared it here, but that quote is just so profound suffering through miracles. And if we're all walking the hero story, we are all suffering through our own miracle. And Layla, you are just an example of that here on our show today. And would love to hear more of your thoughts on suffering through miracles.
The most important part of survival, I think, is being able to isolate the miracle, to become that eye in the storm, to be able to see the silver lining while it's happening, you know, not as an afterthought.
Wow.
And so for me, through a lot of self-work and self-training and really wanting to be brave in life, I found, you know, that even to have the discipline to bring all these pieces together, even the exciting parts of our lives, there is a degree of suffering or sacrifice therein, you know, to create something. And so I think really the miracle is that we're breathing and we're pulsing and we're all interconnected, and we have these sensory bodies that are like full of experience, ripe and waiting at every moment. Every second of your life could either be like hedonistic joy or deep purpose, but there's so much sensation there. And I think the miracle is to revel in it.
The miracle is to revel in it. And I love that. I love miracle makers, whatever you're experiencing, whether you would call it suffering or surrendering, to really, really surrender, accept, and to even, I love that you said the silver lining, to start while you're going through it, experiencing the silver lining possibility. And that is being outside yourself to perceive yourself a little bit. And as whenever I have been in a funky state, or whenever there hasn't been a movement in expansion with my thoughts or with my experiences, if I go out and I find some way to serve, I've often found expansion in that. The other thing is the courage to share the story. Every time, whatever it is, being raw, being whatever process, knowing it's not, if I'm sharing it, I'm not going through it alone. And I'm also giving the possibility of someone else seeing themselves in the story. And that's what your art does as well, Layla. Helps others see themselves in the story. And it also moves you. It's not the typical photography. It's iconic. You are so well known. Alex Gray has such a beautiful quote about you as well. In the process of creating, when we were taking pictures the other night, Layla, it was one of the cutest things. You said we were deleting pictures, and you're like, don't delete any. All of it's art. All of it's art. We were at the beach.
That's beautiful.
Right.
Just that.
We were all at the ocean under this full moon experience, and we were really bringing the sisterhood in for Rise of the Butterfly, for the next level of Layla Love, the next level of each of us in self-love and self-organization. And we went out to the ocean. We started taking pictures. And I have since not deleted hardly any pictures other than the ones that are like my daughter or my son. They're like, Mom, you cannot keep this. And being a good mom, that I did not keep them. But other than that, and I think that speaks to moment to moment. Don't delete the moments. Really surrender the moments as being the artist, as being part of the process of rising, of saying, if I went through this, I must be stronger than this if I'm still here.
And even that you're perfect in the imperfection. If it's a photo that you wanted to delete, it's still perfect.
Yes.
Perfect in its imperfection.
Yes. What comes up for you, Layla?
Yeah, there's a fine line between how incredible it is now that we're able to all edit and present ourselves in these certain ways, and there's a million filters for every moment of your life. But at the same time, I'm still working with the darkroom. I'm still working with the raw and the gritty. I want the untouched images as well as the profoundly beautiful. And I want the untouched connectivity to life, you know, like, and so I think to embrace imperfectly perfect as a state of mind is the baseline miracle.
That's the now.
That's the now, the imperfectly perfect, the baseline miracle. That's so such a powerful tool to really bring in as a mantra.
We've heard it a million times in one form or another from everybody who's on the path because it's the most important thing. Yeah. But still, there's a lag time in our ability to adapt and adopt it. Like our minds run in circles through these perpetual motions. It's very challenging for many people to change habits long after the fact they know that things are better for them, you know, right? So I think being honest about that and about the mixture of our nature, even as miracle makers, there are like, what is your self-destructive underline that's stopping you from reaching those moments and those heights that are so possible in this life? And so for me, the miracle would be just to open up with yourself, to be honest and to be raw and to be real and to move through the muck and the mire so that you can be that fully embodied lotus. You know, we are remembering the pieces. We are creating this wholeness. It's the most important thing is for us all to speak our truths and to be heard and to feel that possibility of miracle in you.
I want to can you talk about the fear that you might have experienced in moving through that? Because one thing that came up for me as you were talking about this is fear, you know, to actually confront, you know, your feelings on a raw basis. You know, I
mean, I'm afraid right now every day for numerous reasons. I'm afraid just like with the mental chatter, like, will this succeed? Will I reach a point where I'm helping enough people that we reach a critical mass? How will the life energy be used? And I fear, you know, then if it is too successful, then will I be hunted down and killed? You know, there's like, my grandfather did the public relations for the March on Washington and Martin Luther King, and that was my huge inspiration, and I don't talk about it often. However, the fear of like assassination came into me early, but the fear of purpose runs way deeper, and you know, that's what I realized in those moments in where my life has been tested. But you know, there's just fear of not loving yourself enough to make it through the mission or the day. You know, I'm my own boss. I'm here with my own drive, and you know, I tap in with a beautiful community and have the most incredible board ever, and you know, super beautiful humans to co-create with. But despite all those fears, the whole point is that you just keep going. You just take the next step. Like, I have lots of fears, but they're like an island rain that lasts for a few minutes and then they're gone. You know, I keep going. You just despite fear. Fear is not, it's like a weather pattern that doesn't go away.
So you're out on this high wire, and afraid. Do you think that makes you a better artist?
Not a better artist, but I think the art that I'm drawn to is made by people who are boundary dwellers. They're the ones that are going to the edge and bringing back information from the most distant corners they can reach, and then they're sharing that with the community. They're the storytellers, and so you're going through portholes and on-scaring. As much tragedy as my life has been, it's been rich with the most exciting and amazing and beautiful experiences also, for sure. Making art underwater, diving, and working on coral restoration projects deep in the sea, or I've done projects where I get to fly in little planes to the middle of nowhere. I've gotten to travel the world for this, so there's reasons to move through fear.
Even just hearing you talk about flying and being deep under the sea, those are two things that I'm afraid of. So hearing you speak to it is just so courageous and awe-inspiring for someone like me who has that fear.
Truly.
It's exciting to be afraid. Fear is boring.
I love finding courage. I started at one point with a mantra, make more mistakes. And that really, really helped me break. As a woman that was born in a country that doesn't give women a lot of voice, I believe it's starting to give women voice. And there are many, many shifts happening in many, many countries because photojournalism, Layla Love, because of activism of brave, brave women. And in those spaces, make more mistakes. That was the first mantra. So it wasn't about showing up perfect. And then for me, it became have the courage to tell your story. And it took me a very long time to be able to share the story, all of the processes. And at first, I told it in third person. I didn't grow up with a lot of examples of women with strength or voice. And so I would tell my story in third person. This happened to a little girl. The little girl went through this. And I'm sharing this for those people that are coming out of being sold or being owned. Most of my life has been like an subconscious, unconscious energy of feeling owned by something. And the experience of being owned, my reputation, my private parts are the reputation of my family, the reputation of a tribe. I know you can speak to this, Layla, quite a bit in those regions that you've been to. What happens to me is part of the reputation of the family. So there's a lot of pressure to be a particular way and to break free from being owned by anything, owned, and Layla's done that, from society, owned by what a photographer, photojournalist does, what it means to be owned in the areas of work, or you've created any box that you could have ever been put in, you have destroyed the box, and you've opened a way and a process for others that are, whether they're on the cutting edge, like Bruce Lipton, Nassim Haramein, Gloria Steinem, on the cutting edge, or whether they are just waking up. You've got something for everyone to kind of relate to in the nonprofits, or in the ocean work, or in just your inspiring words that are going to be coming out in a book shortly.
Yeah, I'm very excited for the She of God. That's the publication that I'm releasing with Bodhi Tree later this year. And I'm very excited to work with the people who are running Bodhi Tree, very cutting edge, international, sharp. And it's a metaphysical journey, right? It's how we connect our soul to the souls of all souls. And I think I want it throughout. I didn't believe in God when I started doing the photojournalism. I didn't believe in the divine spirit. I was very pragmatic and almost like just wanted to be a soldier of truth. And the softening came from seeing people like your situation, Dr. Sarah, over and over again, where people were being annihilated, like human lives, gorgeous, precious, sacred, we're made of stardust. It's a miracle that we're in existence, and to see the total disregard for human life. And so my goal throughout all of it really is to awaken to how sacred life is, whether it's how I'm living locally or what's going on in distant lands, that wherever you are, you can make an effect, and you will leave a mark. And so you have to decide what that's going to be like. We consciously have the ability to use our lives to transform other lives, and it doesn't take as much as you think. You don't have to take on the whole world, but every person has an ability to do more than we're doing right now, and that's evolution.
Miracle makers, every person has the possibility of doing more than we're doing right now. Everyone does. Matt, what does that bring up for you?
Oh, I was thinking something else here, and it was, Layla, do you have an experience that you can share of someone who has been personally impacted and freed, if you will, through your art that you would be willing to share with us here this evening?
Sure. Well, in the first few years, I would use the camera with a team of people I was just like an unassuming tourist and some silly little girl who wanted to take photographs of another girl. And so we would use the camera that way to lure these women around corners and into safe cars and back away. Oh. So that was the original process. Then later on, it's been in galleries, Paris Photo and APAD and all those things. And so I started to give half of the proceeds. I did a bunch of Tiffany stores. And so doing like fine art allows me to build a bridge where I can channel resources into places that I know are really helping these people recover and spread awareness and connect that way. So, the Obamas, my art went into the White House for a Haiti fundraiser, a Haiti Awareness Day. And, as a result, there were children that were able to be medevaced to New York and had prosthetic legs and things replaced. And so, there's direct action where if people collect, then you can channel that into saving lives. But for me, it's equally important to maintain the grassroots perspective that I'm in the field taking the photographs, and if you work in orphanages, you can photograph their environment. They can use that for grants and whatever. The camera is a very powerful tool. It's an incredible passport. The truth that we see is the truth that we understand. That's why I have stayed with photography, because despite everything, the visceral reaction of humanity comes from being presented with things that we understand collectively. And that's what art does.
That to me is part of the beauty here, is that you actually get to see the results of some of your work where, many artists don't get that. Artists, painters, for an example.
Courses, all the painters, all the artists, I call everybody to join their eyes to the butterfly. We all have purpose, we all have power, we all have potential, and we should all be using it right now.
And I think the key thing is the storytelling. The photography takes away, you become the observer of the situation, as well as it's the way that, Layla, that you do it. It moves me so much to feel and connect through your eye, your perspective. And that's why I'm so passionate about the work that you're doing. I'm so passionate about Rise of the Butterfly. I love that children in orphanages might only get to see themselves through your lens. And then their story, what they're going through, whether it is that orphan or someone else, knows that they are not alone. That image is being shared, transported, and in some way, all of it inspires the imaginal cells, the imagination to know something can occur. And you said something that struck me really beautifully, and I just heard Dr. Bruce Lipton say this as well. He didn't used to believe in God. And you said, I didn't used to believe in God. And what was it that transitioned for you to, and what do you believe in now?
Well, my publication is The She of God.
The She of God, yes.
So that's all the female elements of our spirit and our divinity. I now believe that there's some sort of interconnectivity that alivens us all in whatever we're breathing in this cosmic consciousness, and it's breathing us out. And there's just, I see a more interconnectedness to life, and through studying things at ions and like souls departing bodies, I've seen a lot of death in the work that I've done. And you can't see death without questioning God.
You can't see death without questioning God. And that's, as someone who had a near-death experience and understood oneness, and then later found language to share all of those experiences, I find it the field, describing God or the She of God as the field, the oneness, the co-possibilities that we create together for one another, that helps us organize into deeper possibilities of love. Whenever there's love, whenever there's an expansion of hope, whenever there is even goosebumps, that spark, those are higher senses. And I love this lately. I can't wait to, in my next newsletter, I'm going to cover this, which is, we commonly think about the five senses. A lot of us talk about the sixth sense as well. Humans have 21 senses and counting. And the miraculous sense is really tapping into the flow frequency. For example, Layla, you should not have survived the prison that you were in. But in the course of flow, you survived it. In the connectedness, in some of the places, even living to the age you are now, it's a miracle, miracle after miracle after miracle. And Rise of the Butterfly, or every one of your pieces of art that's purchased, every piece that's purchased, 50% going to charity, 50% going to freedom of someone else. What a contribution, what a way to give. And through your own process, connect to the field, connect to hope, connect to love, and possibly reach that frequency where you know you're not alone. Source is with you, source is within you, source is in everything. So I'd love for you to talk a little bit more about how giving every time one of your pieces of art is purchased or a contribution to Rise of the Butterfly is made, how that gives to freedom of people, to artists, to those that you are helping.
Well, we are looking for and connected to some of the most innovative partners. This project has been 10 years in the making for me since the first initiation into this process. So I think to see like art, whether you buy a piece $100 or collect a large limited edition print, those proceeds are going towards, we're going to work with Peggy Callahan and Voices for Freedom. There's a program in India and also with local programs in Los Angeles. And then, so it's going to go directly towards serving the women and girls who are getting out of debt bondage, giving them safe houses, giving them schools, giving them counseling, giving them microloans. I'm working with Flow Funding now on another board, and just learning how to do those small microloans and give additional support that allows people to really bridge to safety. It's not enough to give initial freedom. Freedom has to have a baseline. Freedom needs a foundation in order for the person to have a chance to flourish. So we're doing that along with, we'll be launching street art campaigns and awareness campaigns. I'll be having the gallery shows and launches this year in New York and LA. And in the meantime, we have the online store where people are collecting, and you know, that's allowing people to get tax deductions. It's allowing them to get beautiful art for their homes, and hopefully help the collector and the viewer too to have a more holistic experience of their day and feel inspired. Like, the whole purpose is to feel inspired to live better.
That living better through giving, and each pieces of the art go up in value. This is why we have the art as well. And one of my favorite friends bought a $10,000 piece, and I'm sure it is increased in value since she got this extraordinary piece. So half of that goes to a charity or helping, and then whatever it is that you buy increases in value in your home. So it's like win, win, win all the way through. I love being part of the board of Rise of the Butterflies. It's so close to my heart. The reason it's so close is we as women are so close. Your art will be featured in New York City, this gallery, this event, 10 years in the making. 10 years of really visualizing, connecting, source coming in, and more and more. What can help that, Layla? What can help you? Because anyone who has heard the show and is part of this really wants to help. And so what can help you?
I would love it if people reached out. I think that's the beautiful step. I would love to hear from people. Anybody can send me an email and say hello. We can start a conversation. I think, whether people feel drawn to collect art or share the words, branch some sort of media thing, there's many different ways that we can spread this message. And I'm also co-fundraising with other nonprofits. So if they have a nonprofit or something established that they want to be of service to, we can collaborate. So it's really that none of us can do it alone. You say half of the proceeds are going to the mission, but I'm putting all my time and all my energy and everything that I've got in my life force. I'm not married. I don't have kids. I focus is this creative mission, and that's my conscious decision to be of service during this lifetime. And so, you know, I'm open to all sorts of teamwork and tribe and getting excited and being inspired and hearing from new people. You know, I'm just
and so reaching out to Layla Love, and her website is laylalove.com.
It's LaylaLoveArt.com.
LaylaLoveArt.com. LaylaLoveArt.com. And as an artist, hearing from you would make a major difference. To know that, and whether you're part of a nonprofit, would want to partner. I know Agape Spiritual Center had your art, Michael Beckwith, in that beautiful center, gorgeous, extraordinary. I've seen your art in great nonprofits with Ricky Byers Beckwith, Kaumba Art, Hub City Live, helping even the work of NASA, the Mary Duda's events, who worked for NASA. And so these great small charities to large charities, reach out and let Layla's art be something that contributes to you as well. And if you are an artist starting, Layla is a resource with Rise of the Butterfly, a resource, someone to follow on social media as well. There's great videos by Dr. Bruce Lipton, Epigenetics, with Greg Braden, with all of his all of his work, and then Alex Gray and Gloria Steinem. Such great content that you've made available on social media and on your website. And so we are wrapping up. We've been given the signal that we've only got about a minute left. Layla, anything else you'd like to add?
Thank you so much for having me. I hope if you're listening, you have the most empowering, incredible, uplifting, miracle-making year ahead, and I look forward to joining forces. We're here to rise and co-create together.
So awesome. Thank you, Layla, so much. And Matt, what would you add?
Just that you can't look at Layla Love's art and not become an advocate. It is that powerful. So, Layla, thank you very much. You've got an advocate right here.
Thank you. I look forward to joining forces.
And Miracle. Sorry, go ahead, sweetheart.
Oh, I just was going to say, may we rise and rise some more.
May we rise and rise some more. That's so beautiful. And Miracle Makers, the ball is now in your court. Share this video, share this podcast. You never know who it's going to reach. Be on the lookout for Layla Love's book, upcoming book, and really reach out to her and check out LaylaLoveArt.com. We love you guys, Miracle Makers. This one had some really juicy content with how to overcome and to suffer and
surrender
through miracles, and let your art, let your heart, let your art be ever expressing as Layla Love's art. She has dedicated her life to give possible freedom to people all around the world, and really, truly, for you, Miracle Maker, to contribute to that is checking her out. Thank you, guys. Until next time. Thank you.
The past is history, the future mystery. This moment is the